Hey everybody, it's me, Amanda Playwythe, and I'm here to show you how I make swim. And before you say anything, of course, I'm here in full drag, right? See, look, here's a little bit of my wig. All right, so here we go. The first thing you have to do is get set up. You're gonna need some 4-way stretch spandex fabric, elastic, which is sewn end to end and marked, and I'll show you how we do that. A sewing pattern, and look, we've got an original Amanda Playwythe swim trunks. Lining fabric, and here it's already cut out. A drawstring with little knots at the end so it doesn't fall in. And of course, the Amanda Playwythe tags. And today, we're making a 4X. You're also going to need a way to cut your fabric, and I like this rotary cutter, and also various other tools. We've got pins for holding things together. We've got these little plastic clips that people like instead of pins. We have chalk for marking, which I have in a variety of colors. Sometimes the chalk isn't enough, so I've got these lovely markers in different colors. This is double stick dissolvable Wonder Tape, which is great for holding spandex together. And a little trick you may not have known about, Elmer's glue. Yep, it's washable, it dissolves when you wash it. You know, that's why it's safe for like drag queens to hold their eyebrows down. Well, guess what? It holds the fabric in place sometimes when you need it. All right, I'll go through how these things are used a little bit later as we continue. All right, now, so real quick, I'm going to show you how to put together some waistbands and sew them together with a zigzag. All right, so you take the two ends of the waistband and you butt them up against each other and you put them under the presser foot like this. I like to start about halfway. All right, put that presser foot down. All right, and put that needle down. Now I'm going to do a couple of stitches. All right, and then I'm going to make it go backwards all the way to where the two come together. There we go, and then we're going to go forwards all the way to the end. Doing it nice and slow for you guys to see it, right? Going to get nice right to the end. We're going to hit that reverse again. We're going to reverse about down to the middle where we were. Woo! Just a little bit more. All right, and now we're done. We're going to pull it out, and there you go. You got your nice zigzag seam. Yay! All right, so now that you got your elastic and the ends are put together, you got to snip your little tails off, okay? But I bet you already knew that. That goes without saying. All right, we're going to snip our little tails off. And then what I like to do to get the elastics ready is I like to mark them at quarters. All right, so I'm going to take this part where the seam is, right? I'm going to hold that, and I'm going to go to the other side. And I like to pinch it between my fingers, and I take my marking chalk, and I just go along like that, and I get a nice little line. Now you take that line, and you line it up with the seam on the other side. And what do you get? You get the other two marks. So you go to that end, you pinch, you mark, you go to the other end, and you pinch, and you mark. All right, now I like to do this to get this elastic all set because the final step is to insert it, and having these marks helps you, having these marks helps you, line it up just right. Okay, so today's order that we're going to work on is using this lovely red zigzag fabric, which is a lot of fun. It's a little tough because you got to line up the zigzag so it's just right, okay? So that's why I have some things sitting on here to sort of hold it in place, and I'm going to smooth it out just right. Okay, now this is for a lovely returning customer who's been so wonderful and ordered a whole bunch of things from me before, and we're doing this in a size 4X. Now, we're going to take our pattern, okay, which looks like this. And this side is supposed to go on the fold. It says it right on it. These are my special Amanda Playwythe patterns that I made myself. You see, they say Amanda Playwythe right on them. They're designed in, some software using some, math and things. And then stretched to make all the different sizes. All right, so we're going to lay that on there, and then we're going to cut it out. I'm going to slide the whole thing forward because I think I need a little more room to work. Yeah, there we go. All right, now, get it all lined up. I'm going to put a few things on it for some weight. All right, And we're going to use the rotary cutter, where did I put the rotary cutter? Which is right here. And it has a blade that comes out that is, you know, round, because it's rotary. You get it. And, you know, over the years, these patterns have gotten a little nicked, and, like, you know, some of the angles are a little not quite what they used to be. So sometimes I overshoot, you know, and I cut out a little bit of extra on the side. I can line it all up perfectly and trim it a little bit later. All right, we're going to keep going. This is what we're left with. Woohoo! All right, this is going to become the back and the butt of the swimsuit. All right, next we got to cut out the pouch. All right, now I cut out the pouch, which this is the pattern piece for the pouch, okay? Now I'm going to line up the fabric because I want them to have the same pattern in them. So, where are we going? This is the tricky part, getting all the zigs facing the same way so they zig and they zag at the same time. You know what I mean. All right, now this is the center seam, where the center of the pouch. So I'm actually going to try and line that up with the center of the chevrons. Let's see, move it over to the upper right there. There, we're going to go like that, I think. Yeah. And then when I put it together, I'll open it up and you'll see what I mean. All right, now this is the big reveal. When I sew this together with the little bit of seam allowance, these two parts should meet up and continue the zigzag. We have our elastic put together with it attached to end and marked. We've got our swimsuit main fabric cut out. We got our pouch. We've got our pouch lining. We got our size tag and our brand tag. And we've got our drawstring. Now, there's one more thing we have to do to prepare all this. And we have to put buttonholes in this pouch here. And that's where the drawstring is going to go when it goes into the swimsuit, so that those holes are nice and reinforced and don't tear. All right, now I guess we should add this to the list of things you're going to need. This is called tear-away interfacing, and it's got the consistency of like a paper towel almost, right? Now, since spandex is really stretchy, see how it stretches, right? How do you put a buttonhole in that, huh? It's going to stretch in the machine. Well, you put a little bit of this interfacing behind it with a little bit of adhesive, and it does the trick. So I take a couple pieces of my interfacing, and I get my spray adhesive. Oh yeah, you might want that too. That could be in the pile also of things we need. Just going to spray them a little bit, and I'm going to take this and I'm going to put it about 3/4 of an inch down from the top. I'll explain that way in a second. So we're going to do that. So it's glued to the back. All right, then we're going to use this little broken piece of ruler that I've had around forever to mark where those holes go. Now I'm going to use the chalk. And this is 3/4 of an inch down, because it's halfway on the 1.5 inch elastic. So I like to start my buttonhole 3/4 of an inch from the edge of the fabric, 3/4 of an inch down. The buttonhole is a 1/2 inch across, so I mark a 1/2 inch, so from 3/4 to 1 1/4 inches. And there you go. Those are my markings. There you go. All right, so right here, this is one of my favorite things. I keep this machine set up with this button holder foot all the time, all right? Now, I've got it already threaded with black thread, which matches our garment that we're doing, okay? So I'm going to set the machine. The machine has various settings over here, okay? I'm going to set the machine to this one, number 35, which is a buttonhole, okay? And let me do that up on the display here. Let's see if we can show you. So up on the display, we're going to set this to 35. Going to leave everything else alone, okay? Now you take the piece of fabric, okay, and you're going to line up your marks with the little crisscrossy in the foot. Now, if you can see that, there's a blue line there, a red line in the middle, and a blue line there. So I'm going to put my fabric right there in the middle where I think everything lines up. And I'm going to put my presser foot down, okay? And you can see it's automatically moving it back and forth. So I keep this machine set up like this all the time because you know what's the worst part about doing anything with sewing? Is changing the machine for something new, right? So what you got to do is you got to take your little nipper scissors and take off the extra threads. And then rip off the interfacing. And this little bit of residue that's on it, it dissolves. Okay, so now that we have our buttonholes done in our pouch, it's time to actually assemble everything. Yay! Now, this actually breaks down into several mini steps, okay? All right, so the first thing we're going to do is we're going to assemble the pouch. Okay, now, let me take that pin out. I'm going to return to my little piece of cardstock, okay, for the glue, because this is where the glue stick comes in. Now, the cardinal rule of sewing anything is you want to put your right sides facing together. So we're going to make like a little sandwich out of fabric. So we're going to put the pouch right side facing up. And we're going to take our glue stick, our Elmer's glue stick, right? And just going to take it and you're going to run it over the edge about between 1/8 and 1/4 of an inch. And I don't know if you can see that, but it comes up purple. Okay. Oh yeah, it really doesn't come up very well on the camera, does it? But it's just the slightest little tint of purple. You only want to get a little bit on the edge. All right, and you're definitely gonna overflow some of it onto the paper, but that's okay. You're just gonna do it. You're gonna go all the way up and down. And with this 4X, it's a little bit bigger than the paper, so we're gonna remaneuver it and get that glue on the edges. All right, now you got that glued. And then I like to take the little Elmer's thing and use it kind of as a roller. Roll down that edge, okay? We're going to set this aside. Going to take our little glue board. We're going to grab the pouch. Same thing. Going to put right sides together. There you go. Now we're going to take this guy. Now we have our sandwich. It's all glued together. Now I'm going to take and put a large pin in it just to sort of stabilize the whole stack. Now that is ready to put through the sewing machine. So now we have the pouch fabric that we glued together and put the pin in, right? We're going to put it through the serger. Okay, now this is set up with the blade down, so it's going to cut off the excess. We're doing not very wide, okay? And it's 3 threads. I'll show you what it looks like when we're done. All right, so now we've gone ahead and sewed that seam. Now it is a 3-needle overlock stitch, okay? We don't need to be super, people will know what this is. Okay. All right, and it's got some stretch to it. And I'm going to glue all of this. Okay, and then I'm going to put this down. Take this glue stick, we're going to, okay, and then we're going to flip this around. Okay, now we're going to take this from the other side, this piece of lining fabric, and we're going to line it up like so. We're going to give it, do the same thing with the glue. Yeah. So now we should have the pouch with the lining glued down together so that they're like one piece. You see how that works? All right. Take this curve here, and we're going to take this and we're going to put it in there. And this is when I'm going to use this stuff. It's 1/4-inch Wonder Tape, right? Okay. To little pieces like that. And I find I like this better than pins because pins make fabric pucker. But what I want to do is I want to secure everything of these 3 layers of fabric that's going together. So we got our little bits of tape across there. We got the one right there, which I like because it's where this comes together. And these 3 layers of fabric shouldn't move, right? Okay, so we're going to take these off. It takes a little getting used to pulling these glue tabs off. Yep, you can see I struggle sometimes. Okay, so what you're going to do is you're going to line up these corners right there like that, down to there. Oh. Just like that. Now you're going to connect that one, and then you're going to connect this one at the end here. Watch out for that tail. Going to connect that there. And then what you're going to do is you're going to space the rest of them. You're going to stretch that together so we can space them out just right. And this is what you should end up with. Go ahead and fix any that might have moved. There we go. There we go. And it should be gathered just so. Okay, so now that we've prepared our edges, we're going to put this through on the, this is a 2 needle, 4 thread overlock. Look. We want to make sure that that blade is cutting off any excess, okay? All right, now we're going to go ahead and start sewing, right? Going to give it a subtle stretch. That's what the seam gives you. It's wider than the other one we just did, okay? But that's very, very strong. Now we're going to do the other one that we did, the other side of the pouch. Now look at that. It's starting to look like shorts. The last thing we got to do is this seam here and connect the crotch. There is like so many seams that come together in this spot that this has to be very strong. All right, so we're going to cut these, but leave a little bit, at least 1/2 or 3/4 of an inch. You need a little bit of a tail. Okay. Now this is another spot I like to use my double stick tape. I like to take my tweezers and put this thread down inside. Then I like to take a little bit of this and put it here and put this thread over. Same thing with this side. Put a little bit of tape right in there. So now those edges are glued down and those little tails are tucked away. Okay? Let's keep going. I like to put these corner to corner. Just like that. Okay, now the 2 corners are tacked down. Now I like to flip it over, pull these 2 off. Okay, now you want to match this center of this curve with that center seam and line that up. Same thing with this other side, line that up. Okay, now we're going to put 2 more little pieces in these little spots in the middle. All right, now look at that. It's all sandwiched down right nice and neat right there in the crotch. Okay? Now this, like I said, it's got to be the strongest seam in the whole thing because there's a lot of things that can come apart there. All right? Now we're going to go back over to the 4-thread serger. Okay? But this time, we're going to take this blade. You can't really see it there, but there's a blade right here. And we're going to take it, we're going to lower it. And we do that with this switch on the side. This machine has a little switch on the side. Okay, so now that blade will not come up and do any trimming like it's done before. Because like I said, this crotch seam, it has a lot going on. Okay, it's got to connect a lot of things. All right, so we're going to put this in here. We don't want it to cut off any threads or accidentally cut off any fabric. So we're going to just take it nice and easy. Going to make sure that those edges that we picked up, that we glued down, that they stay down where they were supposed to go. Okay, pull it taut and give it a nice sew through. Okay, so now it's actually got a shape. It actually looks like a swimsuit now, complete with pouch and everything. Look at it go. So now we're going to turn it inside out. We're going to trim our tails. Trim. 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 Now we're going to take our elastic, okay, we're going to line up this center with this seam here. Okay, and then I hold it and find the center in the back. And then the center mark, I line up with that center. Takes a little bit of time to get the feel for this. Now we're going to take this, line it up with the other pin so that we can find the side here. Okay, and then that spot is going to go to that spot on the elastic. And I want to line up this pin with this pin in the front so that I can find the side. Okay, so for this next seam, we're going to sew the edge of the fabric to the elastic, okay? We're going to do it with the 3-thread 1-needle overlock. And I'm going to lower the needle. And in this machine, I actually have to open this little thing and lower the needle, or the blade. I'm saying the blade. We're going to lower the blade, goodness. So you can't just lift it out and like pull. Okay? I have to lift it up, make sure the needles are up, take my tweezers, put it under, grab a hold of the threads, but now I need to release the tension with my fingers up on the tension dials.
Whoa.
Pull it out, then I can snip it.
Oh
Then I need to release the tension on the bottom thread, which is this fourth one, and I have to pull straight back. And it pulls those threads to the back of the fabric, and then I can snip them close there, and that will never come undone.
wow.
This little bit of blue tape right here. Does it show up on the camera? Yeah, I've got this little blue tape. And it's got a line down the middle of it. The line down the middle of it is for another thing. I'm going to use the edge of it. And I'm going to start my sewing where I started the sewing before. And I'm going to line that right up at the edge of the blue. So I'm just off the edge of the fabric. Okay? And I'm going to pull it tight. And I'm going to go. When you get to the other end, this weird cover stitch thing, this is what you do. You take the two threads that were on the top, you cut them real close. You flip it over, you take this bottom thread, you give it a nice yank. That pulls the threads to the other side. Then you clip that off. Then you keep sewing. So that you sew over the exact spot. And then you have to take the threads out of the machine that way I showed you before. And so then that gives you the two lines of sewing right there.
So good.
So they don't.
Oh my god, delectable.
And so then what you do is you cut open the buttonholes there, which look at how nice that is right there,
That's
matched
so
up.
good.
Oh my god. And then you put the drawstring in. Here we are. And we've got a suit here. We got this whole end is just done. This is done. That cover stitching is done. The raw edge is gone. Okay? Now we got to worry about these edges. Oh my goodness, what are we going to do? Well, so this is for the leg openings to get those perfect hems. All right, so I take the swimsuit, backside first. I put it right on that line on the glue board, which is very sticky. So guess what? It stays there. Then I take this piece of paper and my glue, and I line this piece of paper up with this line from side to side, and I do a quick, and it makes a little line, and then I fold it right like that. Boom.
Easy peasy.
Flip it over.
The same thing.
Boom. So now I don't even need the guidance of the glue board now. I take the two sides that are already folded over. I'm going to take this crotch, I'm going to give it a little glue there, because what I want it to do is I want to fold these threads in like that. I want to fold this over like that. And then I need to take the whole thing and fold it like that. And anywhere that I feel like it's not secure enough, yep. And I got one more spot to do on this outer hip area that doesn't have any glue on it. So it gets tacked 4 places, just like we did the elastic where we marked it in 4 places. It's best to tack in 4 places. Now look at that. Look at that. Look at that.
Great.
Let's do the other side. They're going to see my head, and they're going to know I'm not wearing the wig. I'm going to get in trouble. All right. So I'm here. I'm just going to talk about it. All right. So here's the cover machine, a different cover stitch machine. It's got this stitch plate on it, which has different, oh boy, which you can set to different widths. Right now it's set to 1.5 inches. We're going to set it to 1 inch because that's this little notch I have here, and that's what these leg openings are. We're going to set that to 1 inch. So this little valley here is between this guard and this little notch is 1 inch. You see that, Kate? Isn't that lovely? All right. Now, what we have to do is we have to sew this raw edge on the underside, but we have to do it from the top. But how do you see it unless it's absolutely perfect? So this is one of the things I'm more proud of that I've come up with, okay? So I'm going to go ahead and get this started. Now, I always start my stitching around this point, right where the seams come together, okay? And the reason I do that is because when you go over your stitching at the end, it means that this goes over twice, which means it's reinforced at the weak point. Ha 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 ha. See how I think about that? All right, so now I like to load it with that seam right in front of the presser foot, right behind this little tab that sticks out. Okay, now this is only specific to this machine, okay? But I'm going to put that needle, that presser foot down to hold that fabric. Now, what do I have down here? I have a little tiny light that I have shoved in here. Now, it's, I say little tiny, it's bright, okay? So when I turn it on, it's real bright. Now, watch what happens when I put the fabric right here. I can see through it, and I can take that, see that, you can kind of see that little edge right there. And what I do is I look through and I line up that edge that I see through the fabric with that little groove. Now watch, I'm going to sew. And you see, I'm not necessarily sticking to this thing here. I think it's more important to stick to this guy here and get that edge. Get that edge lined up. Okay, now let me flip it over and just give you the quick reveal. Now look at that. Look at that. It's right on the edge of the fabric.
So good.
All right, let's finish her up. Okay, here we are. Final steps, drawstring and tags. I still do the drawstrings with a safety pin. I have tried other things. I can't do it. Okay, but this is what we do. Don't want to lose that. All right, so here's the buttonhole. You can almost not see it because it's black on black. But what I like to do is I take the scissors, these little nippers, these little guys, which you can get on a 12-pack for 10 bucks. You put one side in that side, and you put one in the other, and give it a little nip, and that opens it enough that you can go through. So like I said, we're going to grab it like that. I don't know if that shows up very well. But you're kind of using the 2 points of the scissors to create a little part that you pinch and cut, if that makes sense. Anyway, so now we've got open buttonholes. You can see the elastic inside. Okay, I'm going to take my drawstring. I'm going to take a safety pin, put it through right behind the knot, close it up, and in the buttonhole. And I put my thumb on the end of the safety pin and I push it, till it like creates like a ruffle on it, and then hold onto this end of the safety pin and pull. Push, pull. Repeat that action. Great. So now we have a drawstring in it. What we want to do is we want to even it out. You want to grab hold of the ends, even it out. I like to, it's kind of hard to show because it's such a big guy, but I like to even it out, hold the drawstring tight so I can find the center back, which, hey, I think the center back falls on exactly on a chevron. Should fall exactly on that point. Haha. We're going to mark that. Lay that down. Here's our Amanda Playwythe tag. Stick that down here like that. Use our little glue again. And then we've got our 4X. I'm going to put that over the side with the P. That's how I always remember it. Little more glue. Take that whole thing off. Stick it right here. Take it over the sewing machine and sew it. Take these excess threads. Gonna take the ones from the back first. Give them a snip. Give a little tug to the ones in the front to pull those tight. And there's our tag, complete with the size.